Professor Hirsch said even if the confession is truthful, that there are still problems with admissibility if it wasn't voluntary.
We're not going to let someone go on what most people would consider a technicality. I don't think of our constitutional rights as a technicality, number one. And number two, it sends a horrible message. If you were going to send someone to prison based on evidence which was acquired illegally or unconstitutionally, you know, maybe it feels like that's not so unjust in this case. But if law enforcement comes to realize that they can get away with violating people's constitutional rights and the people will still be convicted, the evidence will still be admitted, you're going to find innocent people suffering.
This could be the day that the state rests their case in chief. Still on deck to testify, a ballistics analyst and tire tracks analyst. We'll see if they'll be able to link the tire tracks at the scene and the shell casings at the scene to the gun and vehicle that belonged to the defendant. Reporting in San Antonio, Texas, Julia Janae with Court TV.
Our thanks to Julia. She'll be back in the courtroom today as the state continues to pile up the evidence and build that wall. And boy, is it getting huge. What's the defense going to do? We'll have to find out. Joining us this morning, trial attorney Kelly Hyman is in Denver, Colorado. Good morning to you, Kelly. And in studio, we have Rachel Kaufman. Rachel, good morning. Kelly, this case, in Julia's piece there, talking to an expert, there's a lot of discussion, and the defense even continues to bring it up on some level, that the confession shouldn't have been brought in and that jurors should ignore it. But I'm thinking, gee, as a society, if a guy confesses and he tells authorities where a body is, a body that they didn't even know was missing, then that's pretty good stuff, and we should use it. Where do you fall on this idea that, well, okay, it's overwhelming in Ortiz, but it's a bad precedent?
Right. Hi, Ted. It's great to see you. And you bring up a really good point. We have to look at the circumstances of when this confession happened. How long was he being interrogated for? Was it 5 minutes? Was it 24 hours? Did he ask for an attorney and they didn't provide him with an attorney? Did he tell his side of the story and the police kept pressuring or pushing him? But that is going to be key. I mean, that is strong evidence that he did commit the crime and that he's guilty. Ultimately, we're going to have to see what happened, but I have a tendency to believe that the court will most likely let it in.
Yeah, oh, it's in, and the jurors watched it all 10 hours of it. A lot of it was boring, but it was all there. He didn't sign the waiver that they said, hey, could you please sign this? It says, no, he didn't want to sign that, but he did. He never asked for it to stop. He never asked for an attorney. Right, Rachel,
these are legal issues for the court to consider.
Before the trial.
Before the trial. And I guess you can throw that in front of the jury, kind of like Darrell Brooks did, you know, with jury nullification. But because his confession was not false, in that he gave, you know, evidence of where a body was that they didn't have before, that's what you had said.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing false about that type of confession. So just like with Darrell Brooks, no one wants to give him the benefit of jury nullification because he doesn't deserve it. Innocent people do suffer because of false confessions, but I don't believe that Ortiz is one of those individuals.
Yeah, and Kelly, we just saw a picture, some video of him. He's kind of mad dogs some of the witnesses, and I'm not sure that he's actually trying to communicate something with them. I think it's just his natural stare, but we've seen this over and over again in trial. Do you tell your client, do you nudge them and say, hey, look down at your paper, do something else, because you're creeping people out? How do you handle that?
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. So that definitely would come up in when you're meeting with the client and prepping them before the trial and doing practice runs and talking to them about doing that. But we also have to remember that mental health is definitely going to be key, and that's going to be a key component for the defense, that there's mental health issues. So I think that they're going to try and use that see that he has mental health issues and he wasn't in the right state of mind and he's still dealing with those issues because currently he's not on proper medication.
Well, fair enough. That's a good point. And if I'm a juror fighting with that, then him acting that way fits the bill, right?
But it doesn't really change what he did. I know that it sounds like they're going to discuss PTSD and him being medicated. Well, a lot of people have PTSD. A lot of people are medicated.
They don't go and shoot and kill 4 people.
It's not a justification. I don't believe he's going to argue that he was insane. He looks a lot different than he does, than he did when he got arrested. Wow.
That happens. A little incarceration will do that to you. All right, well, we'll see what happens. Again, the state's expected to arrest at some point today, and then we'll find out what kind of a defense, if any, is put forth for Mr. Ortiz. Meanwhile, we want to switch gears. Well, if you want to join our conversation, you can do it on Twitter, @CourtTV on this one. This one seems to be a slam dunk, Ortiz. Well, we'll wait and see. You never know. The other trial we are covering, boy, it is anything but. And after the break, we're going to shift gears to this other Texas trial. A former Fort Worth police officer facing murder charges for shooting a woman while she was babysitting. We'll get you caught up on the dramatic testimony yesterday and preview what we're going to watch together here today.
In 2018, a killer walked the streets of Laredo, Texas.
He took advantage of the vulnerability of this community.
I mean, there was a lot of fear.
Former Border Patrol agent Juan David Ortiz.
Accused of killing 4 women.
Ortiz carried out these murders in a cold and callous way.
Now he faces a jury and life in prison if convicted.
The Border Patrol serial killer trial. Live coverage today on Court TV. 857.
Back, former Fort Worth police officer Aaron Dean is on trial for the fatal shooting of Tatiana Jefferson. The 28-year-old was inside her home babysitting her nephew when Dean and his partner responded to a non-emergency call after a neighbor was concerned that her doors were open. He ended up shooting her through a window. Yesterday was day 1 of testimony. It was only a half day, but boy, was it dramatic. We're going to talk about what happened yesterday, including the testimony of that now 11-year-old nephew. First, let's get you caught up on the case with Court TV, Michael Ayala, who has a look at the case against Aaron Dean.
Put your hands up. Show me your hands. This gunshot was fired moments after former Fort Worth police officer Aaron Dean responded to a welfare call around 2:30 a.m. on October 12, 2019.
Are they usually home at this time?
They're usually home, but they never had both of the front doors open.
We'll have an officer come by. They're already being dispatched now, okay?
Aaron Dean, with his partner, arrived at the home of 28-year-old pre-med graduate Tatiana Jefferson and walked quietly around the side of the house. Once in the backyard, the officer sees Jefferson, yells for her to put her hands up, then shoots a single shot. On the body cam video, Dean is never heard identifying himself as a police officer.
I ask you to please do not let the actions of one officer reflect on the other 1,700. There's absolutely no excuse for this incident, and the person responsible will be held accountable.
A passionate chant that became synonymous with holding police accountable. People once again took to the streets to protest another police killing in the state of Texas. Jefferson's death came just 2 weeks after former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger was sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting Botham Jean in his apartment. 2 days after Jefferson's death, Officer Aaron Dean resigned from the police department and was charged with murder.
Watching the video, I don't understand if they are trained that way, as to react to everything as a active shooter, out of fear, out of whatever they train. It has to be changed. There's no way to go in thinking that you have to shoot someone.
Tatiana Jefferson was the 6th person shot by Fort Worth police in a 5-month span back in 2019. And for weeks following her death, the community filled the streets protesting.
I want to make no mistake about it. The results that you see coming in is because of the national pressure. It's because of the activists in the streets. It's because of the people who have been organizing within the city of Fort Worth and all around the country, demanding justice in this case.
The trial of Aaron Dean has had several hurdles over the past 3 years, with delays due to the coronavirus pandemic, scheduling of other trials. Dean's lawyers granted a motion to recuse Judge David Hagerman from the case. And one of Dean's defense attorneys, Jim Lane, falling ill and recently passing away. Jefferson's family says that Tatiana was playing video games with her nephew the night she was shot. And no, there was never a threat. It's not clear what Dean's defense might be, since the current judge in the case has issued a gag order preventing both sides from talking about the case publicly. But one potential aspect could be about the gun that Jefferson owned and whether she attempted to shoot into her backyard at the unidentified officer.
We often see law enforcement officers perceiving threats from the most mundane things that black people are doing and justifying the use of deadly force. And so while this is a start, we know that there is a long road to a prosecution, a conviction, and an appropriate sentence.
Now, the trial began yesterday with opening statements where the state and defense laid out their cases. Here, the prosecution points at an unjustified killing by a police officer who murdered a woman without cause.
You watched that video as many times as you need to. Thank God you have it. After you look at all of the evidence in this case, you will be sure, beyond a reasonable doubt, that this is murder. You're gonna know that this is not self-defense. This is not a circumstance where they're staring at the barrel of a gun and he had to defend himself against that person or to protect against his partner. The evidence will support that he did not see the gun in her hand. This is not a justification. This is not a self-defense case. This is murder. Your home is supposed to be the one place on earth that you get to go to be safe. But for Tatiana Jefferson, her home was not her refuge. It was not her sanctuary or her safe place. It was her demise. And she left in a body bag.
Now, we're going to get the defense side of this in a bit, but the first witness out of the gate was this little guy, Tatiana's nephew. He's the one that was babysitting, and he talked about how they burned hamburgers. That's why the doors were open, and he talked about whether or not she had her gun and if she lifted it towards Dean when he was outside. Take a listen.
She just held it to her side. She didn't point it up. She just kept it next to her, like on her side.
And where did she go with that, after she picked up the gun?
She was about to start walking to the window.
Okay. And when she walked to the window, what did she do?
I didn't hear nothing after that. I just seen her fell on the floor.
Did you see, whenever your auntie walked towards the window with the gun, did you see her kind of pull the gun up just a little bit away from her side?
No, sir.
Do you remember if she had the gun up or down?
Down.
Down. Are you sure she didn't have it up at all?
No, sir.
Okay. And how close did Aunt Kay get to the window?
I can't, I don't know how to say how far she was. Like I say, she was 3 feet away.
Okay. She got pretty close to the window?
Yes, sir.
Was she saying anything to you as she got closer to the window?
No, sir.
Did you hear anything as she got closer to the window?
No, sir.
Did you see something that happened?
I seen her fell on the ground.
Did you see did you see anything outside the window?
No, sir.
You didn't see a man with a badge?
No, sir.
Still with us, trial attorney Kelly Hyman in Denver, Colorado, and in studio, Rachel Kaufman. Kelly, this is a fascinating trial, and boy, what drama we had yesterday. We'll get to the defense side, but just talk about this young man who's been put in this horrible position, first to lose his auntie, and then to have to come in and recall that now he's an 11-year-old boy. This case, his testimony does matter because the defense is saying that, and Dean says that he believes that the gun was pointed at him. How does a jury usually deal with the testimony of a child this young?
Right, well, first off, my thoughts and prayers go to the family, and what a brave young boy to get up there on the stand and to tell the story. And I think he's key. He came across as being really credible. He was right there. He experienced it. and he comes across as very believable, very honest, and very, very sincere. And I think that the jury's going to believe him, and he's very, very likable. And so horrible that he had to experience this at such a young age, to experience that, to see a family member die right in front of him.
Rachel, the defense has already pointed out, even the prosecution did in their direct with the young man, is that immediately after this happened, they took him aside and a professional interviewed him. And he did say at that point that he thought that his auntie did raise the gun. It's just tough waters to navigate.
It feels like now, he's gotten a little bit older and he knows what the prosecutor, what their theory is and what would be most likely to get a conviction. So I feel like his testimony may be shifting a little bit, but as you and I were talking on the break, I believe that Tatiana would have been justified in pointing a gun at intruders in her backyard.
Absolutely, they didn't identify themselves.
So, ultimately, whether or not she pulled the gun, there were people, she was trying to protect her nephew. I think that
right now, if she were on trial, there's a huge argument of like, yeah, well, there's a creep in my backyard and I shot him because I noticed he had a gun. It wasn't identified as a police officer. However, he's the one on trial. Yeah. He violates procedure. He's in the backyard. If he, and this is his story, he thinks there's a laser, those lasers that go off of a handgun. He says it hits him, points him. Does he have a right to protect himself? And that's what it's all coming down to. And it's I don't know the answer. I would hate to be on this jury.
I mean, if it was your daughter that was babysitting, and that's what the racial implications of this are very real. If that white officer saw me in the window, I don't think he would shoot at me. I just don't, and I think that that's really disgusting. He'll take the stand and he'll tell a narrative. We'll see. But so far, this is a very dramatic trial, and that young boy, to Kelly's point, was heroic in the way that he came on yesterday and kept his. Yeah, I can't imagine what was going through the young man's mind being thrust into the middle of this. We'll get a break here, and when we come back, we're going to look at that defense case in Texas versus Dean. We're also waiting for them to get up and running in San Antonio. We'll take you into that courtroom live as soon as that happens. Stay with us.
Devin.
You're having a hard time remembering what you told that lady.
Yes, sir.
You know why that is?
Because it's been 3 years. I don't remember nothing from 3 years ago.
There's a gag order in place for the trial of the former Fort Worth police officer Aaron Dean. But yesterday, boy, did we get a glimpse of the defense strategy in the trial during their opening statement, and then the cross-examine of Tatiana Jefferson's nephew. Dean's defense claims that Dean was not given enough information. They were told to go respond to this house. They arrive and the doors are open, but the defense says that wasn't enough.
There's 2 officers there for officer safety. Priority 2 call. Darch makes it there first, Dean gets there second. I think the evidence will show that Darch goes to the wrong house first. They come back, look in the squad again, and get the right address. And they walk up to the front of the address. Remember, what did they know and when did they know it? Here's what they're told when they're going to the call, both on the radio, for the ear, and for them to read. Complainant advised front doors to addresses open. Both the neighbors' vehicles are in driveway. White sedan and dark colored sedan. Neighbors are usually home and never has door open. The word welfare is never said. They're given a signal 56. It's not a welfare check to Dean and Darch. The doors are open. That's what they have as the data elements when they arrive on scene.
Now, during cross-examination of Jefferson's nephew, the defense pursued their case of self-defense, trying to get little Zion Carter to testify that his auntie actually did pick up her arm and point the gun at the defendant, Dean.
She went to get her gun out of her purse.
She had a gun in her purse?
That's right.
Where in the room was her purse?
By her monitors. By her table where her computers are.
Was there anything else near the tables where her computers are?
Not what I know of.
Was her purse near the window?
Like 5 feet away from it.
So 5 feet back into the room?
Yes, sir.
It was in the same room y'all were in, right?
Yes, sir.
And she went to her purse, and did she, was the purse up on the desk, or was it down on the ground, or?
Down on the ground.
And what she did, reach into her purse?
Yes, sir.
And pull the gun out?
Yes, sir.
How did she pull the gun out of her purse?
She looked at her purse, and then when she looked at it, she got it and just had it next to her.
Show us how she had it. You mind standing up? Go ahead and stand.
I'll go over there.
Do you want to stand there or come down?
Right here would be great. Everybody can see.
Right here.
Okay. All right. Why don't you turn and face the jury just real quick so they can make sure we have everybody can see. Oh, here you go. Okay.
All right, just again, this young man put through a lot yesterday. He's a critical part of this case. Still with us, Kelly Hyman and Rachel Kaufman. Rachel, this demonstration, the defense is trying to get the jury to believe that she goes down, gets the purse, and the window is, she's up against the window, he's up against the window, so they're very close to each other. But the defense wants the jury to believe that she goes down, gets the purse, and raises it.
If I don't have a gun, but if it's dark outside and I'm babysitting a child and there's a strange man in the dark that close to my window, I don't take issue with even if she did pull it out.
No, that's not an issue for...
It's neither here nor there.
What she did is she did nothing wrong.
Yeah. No
one contends that she did anything wrong. It's what did he do, and was it wrong? Kelly, let's say, all right, he breaks procedure. He's not supposed to creep around the backyard and not identify himself as a police officer. Now he's in this situation. Does he have a right to, this is the defense, yell at me, does he have a right to shoot this threat if he believes someone's pointing a gun and the laser's hitting him in the chest?
Right, well, ultimately that will be up to the jury to make a determination on whether they believe that, whether it was actually self-defense in doing that. But I always go back to the point of why didn't he identify himself? Like, unless I'm missing some part of the video, he goes up there, and if he supposedly sees someone with a gun, why doesn't he identify himself? This is an officer, instead of creeping around the back and going around the house and not identifying himself as a police officer. Here's this young woman babysitting and is concerned for a young child's safety and was very concerned. She's in her own home. This is a horrific story. This should never happen. And so ultimately we'll have to see what the jury determines. But hopefully they'll make the right determination in this case.
Yeah, and the other was, why did he go to the front door and say, hello?
Knock.
Police, everybody okay? We have a 311 call. Oh, you burned some hamburgers. Okay, enjoy your night. And it's over. But that didn't happen.
No, but
now it's, what do you do with this individual? And that's what this jury is tasked with. And it's going to be difficult. Lesser included might be a factor here.
I think I think that's probably what will end up happening, is that you have a jury that will, I don't know how old, I feel like younger jurors are going to be more responsive to the prosecutor's argument, but I do think that possibly that the jury will end up compromising. Because it is not okay. You can't be on someone's property and in their backyard like that at night with your gun. You're not really, whether you're there lawfully, I don't really think they're there lawfully. So I don't think that when you're somewhere unlawfully, you have the right to shoot people. I mean,
right, and he put himself. He's created a dangerous situation, that's a huge part of the equation. He was fired within hours. The police officer, you know, the police department is not sitting there, you know, supporting him. So there's a lot here, and I'm sure we'll have experts from both sides in terms of training and self-defense. All of it will come out, but it's a fascinating trial. We're going to get a break in here as we wait for them to get up and going in the Aaron Dean trial. We're going to look at a case in Wisconsin that is getting some attention. Prosecutors are charging a 10-year-old boy who allegedly murdered his mother. We'll talk about that next. Welcome back. In Wisconsin, a 10-year-old boy who shot and killed his 44-year-old mother is being charged as an adult. According to the criminal complaint, the boy was allegedly upset with his mother for not allowing him to order a virtual reality headset. He initially told police that the gun went off accidentally when he was playing with the gun. The 10-year-old was charged with first-degree reckless homicide. If convicted, facing a maximum of 60 years in prison. Our affiliate, WTMJ in Milwaukee, has more on this story.
It's still a surprise when there's a shooting around. Usually it's a quiet neighborhood.
Steve Frisch has lived near 87th and Hemlock for more than 2 decades. His quiet neighborhood was shaken up after police say a 10-year-old boy killed his mother. Frisch described the family as average.
He just asked me how I'm doing and stuff like that.
According to a criminal complaint, the boy originally told police he accidentally shot his mom when he was twirling the gun, but the next day the family called police with serious concerns. They say the boy told his aunt he was actually aiming the gun at his mother. According to detectives, the boy said he got the gun because he was mad at his mom for waking him up at 6 in the morning and that she would not allow him to order a virtual reality headset from Amazon. Police say the boy told them he got the gun by taking his mom's keys to the gun safe. He says he took up a shooting stance and that he wanted to shoot the wall to scare her, but she walked in front of him. Family told the police the boy had, quote, rage issues all his life, and at 4 years old picked up a puppy by its tail and swung it around until it whined in pain. The criminal complaint states that 6 months ago, the 10-year-old filled a balloon with flammable liquid and set it on fire, which caused a sectional and carpet in their home to catch fire. A sibling told police the 10-year-old was meeting with a therapist who gave him a concerning diagnosis that led his mother to place cameras inside their home. The cameras were unplugged 2 weeks ago. A family member told police, quote, they felt bad for not stepping in earlier because they knew that eventually something bad was going to happen. We asked Mayor Kevlar Johnson about the charges the 10-year-old is facing.
Anytime there's violence that happens in Milwaukee, whether it's committed by somebody who's 10 years old or much older than that, that gives me pause. I don't want to see anybody hurt or lose their lives in the city. In this particular case, I don't have the details just yet. This is something that is just coming to my attention.
All right, so the big was, what? A 10-year-old charged in adult court? Well, let's read the statute in Wisconsin, and prosecutors kind of have their hands tied here. An adult court has original jurisdiction over all of the following: a juvenile who is alleged to have attempted or committed first-degree intentional homicide or to have committed first- or second-degree reckless homicide on or after the juvenile's 10th birthday. That's the statute. The question is that's the problem here. That's the statute. And then it says the adult court must retain jurisdiction unless the juvenile proves by preponderance of the evidence all of the following: that if convicted, the juvenile could not receive adequate treatment in the criminal justice system, that transferring jurisdiction to the juvenile court would not depreciate the seriousness of the offense, and that retaining jurisdiction is not necessarily to deter the juvenile or juveniles from committing the violation of which the juvenile is accused. Bottom line here, Kelly Hyman and Rachel Kaufman, is this is a lawmaker thing, and prosecutors are following the law. He'll end up, one would think, in juvenile court. 10 years old? Rachel?
You know, I've had cases where, 15-year-olds are charged. In Georgia, if you're over 14 and you're charged with homicide, you're automatically charged. Here, I feel like, you know, even though it is the law and this is a legislative issue, they clearly were attempting to legislate in kids like this who concern them. At the same time, as a human being, these things don't happen in a vacuum. You hear that a child knows where a gun is, has access to a loaded gun, who's 10. There's contributory negligence, like we learned in law school. You know, it's not just the kid, you know, plotting on his mother. It's giving a child access to a loaded gun when you know, apparently. When he's already been to a psychiatrist and you're putting cameras up in your home, right. You got to keep your kid safe from himself. I don't know how he became that way, but you have to keep him safe from himself and keep society safe from him. I hope that there's a way for him to get some kind of rehabilitative treatment, because again, I don't think that he became this way in a vacuum. These rage issues, lighting things on fire, where did he learn this stuff?
Right, and he didn't go buy a gun at the sporting goods store. It was in the house. Kelly, what thoughts do you have about this?
Yeah, absolutely, Chad. You bring up a really good point. So does Rachel as well, of giving, you know, there was a gun in the house and he had access to it. So if there are concerns about someone, whether it's mental health issues or you put cameras up, then why have the keys available? Why not have, if you have the keys, then also have a code as well, so that you, if you're concerned that the kid doesn't have access to it, so you have a lock, but then also a keypad where you have to put in special code, so that way he doesn't have access to it as well. It's a horrible story, no matter what happens, for a kid dealing with allegedly some mental health issues and a family that's lost a loved one as well. And then the fact of, are they going to try him as a kid as an adult based on the statute, which it looks like it is. And as Rachel points out, that it's a legislative issue, and ultimately that's a legislation that made a determination that he's going to be tried as an adult.
10 years old is just, crazy. It is, it's 10. It's a 10-year-old. Rachel, you've represented youngsters in similar hot water, if you will, not maybe as extensive as this, but what's the process? How do you, how will his attorneys seek some fairness, or try, how do you deal with this?
I imagine there's going to be a petition to remove the case back to juvenile court. I imagine there's going to be extensive psychiatric evaluations to figure out, was he criminally responsible? Is he competent? So yeah, is he competent to stand trial? Let's just talk about that. How can a 10-year-old be competent to stand trial in an adult court? Just think about that. They're in 4th grade. They're learning like multiplication. I don't know if they learn cursive anymore. That's when we learned cursive when we were 10 years old. I mean, they can't help their attorney with their case. They can't adequately come up with a defense. They're 10.
Right, and he just turned 10. And Kelly, one would hope that the system will, after the initial charging because of the statute, correct or find the right path here to ensure the child gets some help.
Absolutely, I think that's key, definitely, with the evaluation and seeing what's going on and get some kind of mental health as well. I think that's definitely key in this case. But my thoughts and prayers go to the family to lose someone like this. It's a sad situation, no matter how it turns out.
Well, it sounds like the aunt called in to say that that the son, her nephew, had told her that he actually intended to shoot his mother. So like his own family is telling on him.
Yeah, the whole family apparently has said, yeah, this guy's a wingnut, and he has been for a long time. And what set him off apparently was that he ordered one of those, VR things on Amazon, and his mom was mad. Yes, okay, so she was dealing with a nightmare. And now they are where they are here. It just, to me, should he be held accountable? Absolutely. 10 years old, it used to be anybody below 18 goes to juvenile court, and then you're an adult.
Well, we've become scared of children.
It's going 17, 16, 15, then you'd see, 15, that's what, 10?
Well, he's only there. He's only where he is now because his family didn't keep him safe from himself, respectfully.
Yeah. All right, we'll get a break in here. We have some action in Ortiz in San Antonio, and then also Dean up in Fort Worth. Two big trials out of Texas today. Kelly, Hyman, thank you for your time and expertise. Stick with us. Live testimony coming up next.
Sale ends December 6th.
Top of the hour. Welcome back to Court TV Live. We have two trials out of the state of Texas that we are watching this morning. In San Antonio, the state will continue their case in the Border Patrol serial killer trial. Prosecutors claim that Juan David Ortiz murdered 4 women and confessed to the murders in an interview, a 10-hour interview. But the defense says, you know what? That 10 hours, that was coerced. Yeah, you can't use that, jury. The state expected to rest their case later today, and then we'll see what the defense is going to do. Also, in Fort Worth, Texas, testimony set to resume momentarily in the trial of an ex-Fort Worth cop who killed a woman who was babysitting her 8-year-old nephew, living in the house with him back in October of 2019. Dramatic testimony yesterday. We're waiting for Dean to kick off and get started. As soon as they do, we will jump into it. But we'll start off, and both of these are on CourtTV.com. So if you've been watching the Ortiz trial, you want to watch it, that'll be on .com when we switch over. But right now, let's go live to San Antonio to the Ortiz trial. They're just getting up and running with the first witness of the day, and then as soon as Dean's up and running, we'll switch over.
Now, regardless of the fact that he's the one that brought it up, you don't have to say, yeah, we'll do that for you. That's by design. You could have said, no, we're not going to get you a picture. No, we're going to do whatever we have to get into that house. You could have done that too, right?
We could have, but we didn't.
But you didn't. And it's by design because, as you know by reading this, by listening to the tapes, it's part of a quid pro quo. Isn't that true?
No, sir.
Okay. So you're trying to say we're doing this for you, but you're not doing this for us. You recall on different occasions you say things along those lines. You were Calderon?
Vaguely, yes, sir.
Okay. And so we say, hey, we've done this for you, we've done that for you, but you're not cooperating basically, and you recall that doing that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that involved several things. Number one, a lot of time has passed because what time was Mr. Ortiz placed into the interrogation room?
I would have to look back at my notes.
If I told you around 2:30, a little bit later than that, would that be accurate?
More or less, yes, sir.
Okay. And then you all walked in at 3:21. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so then it's until roughly 10:55, almost 11 o'clock in the morning, when you all have been outside and they've taken, I think, at this moment is when they've taken, I think it's clothing and the like, and then you all will walk back in. And I'm just trying to refresh your memory of where I'm at in the questioning, in the interview. By this time, all those things have come up, the picture and the not breaking the rooms and stuff like that. You agree with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, at some point, we know that the elected district attorney of Webb County is at the substation prior to 10:55 on September the 15th of 2018, right? And by that I mean Mr. Isidro Alaniz. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did you discuss with Mr. Alaniz at the time prior to entering the interrogation room at 10:55?
I don't remember talking to him at all.
Okay. So was he just strolling by and you happened to see him and then you went to Mr. Ortiz and say, hey, the DA is here?
I knew he was there. I don't know if I saw him or Captain Calderon informed me that he was there.
And was he there for another case or for this case?
He was there for this case.
Okay. And it's your testimony to this jury that the elected district attorney of Webb County is at a substation. You and Captain Calderon are the lead investigators. He is there for this case. You two are there for this case. And you're telling this jury that you just happened to not talk about the case. Is that what you're telling these 12 people?
No, I said that I saw him earlier.
Okay, and what did you discuss with him earlier?
No, I just saw him there.
Okay. And so that's why I'm asking you, that morning, on September the 15th of 2018, when the elected district attorney of Webb County, Mr. Isidro Alaniz, is there, and he's there for that case, you mentioned that, you and Captain Calderon are there for this case, and you're telling me that the elected DA and the two lead investigators just never happened to talk about the case. They just strolled by each other. Is that what you're telling these 12 people?
Yes, sir. I just saw him there.
Okay. But regardless, you took that opportunity then to go in there, and after what, maybe 7 hours or more, that's when you walked in there and you tell, do you have the transcript up there with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm on page 13 of disc 6. Am I right? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm on disc 6.
All right, while they get organized there, let's get a break in here. There is action in the Aaron Dean trial. We'll likely be shifting you to Fort Worth right after the break. Stay with us.
Right now.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We're in two courtrooms today, a busy Tuesday, both in Texas. In Fort Worth, testimony just getting underway in the Kildwall babysitting trial. The defendant here, former cop Aaron Dean. He's charged with shooting to death Tatiana Jefferson at her home that she shared with her mother while she was babysitting her nephew back in 2019. Jefferson was there with her nephew and at the time of her death. And the state alleges that Dean was on duty when he shot and killed the victim through a window, that he was creeping around the house, never identified himself as a police officer, surveying the property. They were called to the property because the doors were open. We're going to transition over there to that right now, and what they're doing right now is very dramatic. You saw yesterday here on Court TV, now 11-year-old Zion Carr on the stand talking about what happened. There were references that he had an interview shortly after this all happened, and that's what the jury is now watching. It's the first witness out of the day, and now this is video of 8-year-old Zion Carr telling a child services officer exactly what happened. Let's watch.
Yeah, you were talking about some stuff that happened, and I'd like to ask you a couple of questions just so I can make sure I understand since I wasn't there. Is that okay? Okay. You talked about some stuff that happened with your aunt. Did you see that happen with your aunt, or did somebody tell you about it? Or something?
I saw it with my aunt.
You saw it with your aunt? Okay. So tell me where you were when that happened with your aunt.
I was under the covers in my aunt's bed.
You were under the covers in your aunt's bed?
Yeah.
Okay. And then where was your aunt?
She was in her bed and she got up and went in her person by the way. And then just when they shot her, because she was like dead.
So you said you were under the covers in your aunt's bed. You said your aunt was on the bed too?
Yeah.
And what were you guys doing?
She was playing her video games and I was watching her.
She was playing her video games, you were watching her. What video games was she playing?
It's 8 something on the phone there.
8 something? Okay. And so when you were watching her play video games, was it daytime or nighttime or something else?
No, at night.
No, at night. Do you know what time it was?
I think it was 10 something or 9 something.
What made you think it was 10 something or 9 something?
There was a boat around the house. Not like on the house, but they were going around the house. They said 9:08. So, the
And so did you see the time cinema?
No. No, I was just scared.
You were scared? Okay.
I didn't look at nothing. I was listening to those police.
Okay. So you talked about being you were in your aunt's bed, you said you're under the covers, and you're watching your aunt play the 80s game. What was she playing the game on?
A PlayStation 4 Pro.
PlayStation 4 Pro? Okay. And that was in her room, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that she heard something.
In the backyard.
Did you hear anything in the backyard?
No.
Okay. She said she heard something in the backyard, and tell me what she did.
She got in her purse and got her weapon.
Where was her purse?
The window.
By the window in her room or in a different room?
Her room.
Her room, okay. And you said she got her weapon. Tell me about her weapon.
It was a gun. She hurried and then the body shot her. And then she got her gun and she was crying.
So you said she got her gun and she pointed. Did you see her point the gun? Where was she pointing the gun?
At the window.
At the window, okay. Could you see anything through the window?
Yes.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw the gun out the window. And I thought I saw her bag.
Was the window open or closed or something? Closed, okay. And could you see any lights or anything outside the window?
Yes.
Tell me more about the light.
There's a flashlight.
There's a flashlight. Which is one flashlight or more than one flashlight? One? Okay. So you think you saw a gun and maybe a badge, and then you saw one flashlight outside the window? Okay. Could you hear anything when you saw the flashlight?
Yes.
Tell me what you heard.
He said, put your hands up.
So put your hands up?
So when I heard that, I got scared. I went under the cover. I just come out.
You just went under the cover so you didn't come out? Did you hear anything different than put your hands up?
And then I heard put your hands up down.
So put your hands up, then you heard put your hands up down? Okay. And then what happened?
And then she did.
All right, it's a little difficult to hear, but this is critical testimony here. This is then 8-year-old Zion Carr talking to an investigator / child services worker there to figure out what he saw, what he knew. He just said in the interview 3 years ago that his aunt did point the gun out the window. He said that he heard someone say, put your hands up, from outside. He said the window was open, and that's exactly what the defense is articulating in their argument here. The question is, there's a lot of questions here. We need to get a break, but when we come back, we'll get you back into the courtroom for more of this dramatic testimony. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. We have been watching the state of Texas versus Aaron Dean. They just got underway this morning, and the first thing out of the gate, the prosecution played a video of Zion Carr, an 8-year-old at the time, who was in the house when his aunt was shot by the defendant. Nobody's disputing that the police officer, Aaron Dean, at the time shot the victim here. In that interview that we just watched in this really tiny room, he did say that his auntie pointed the gun out the window. She was fearful. She heard noise in the backyard, and he also said that he did hear someone say, put your hands up. Now, we know from the body cam that the command to put your hands up was followed by a shot within seconds. There was no time to do anything. They're at a sidebar right now. They played this video without a witness to introduce it, and now taking the stand is Carol Dortch with the Fort Worth Police Department, where we believe that's the woman that we saw in that video. Rachel Kaufman is here with us. Joining us also is Brian Silver. He's in Fort Lauderdale. Brian, good morning to you. I know you've represented cops before. What's your overall take of this case here? It seems like the department says he absolutely violated procedure, but what about second-degree murder here, the murder charges? What's your overall take here?
So Part of my practice involves use of force litigation by law enforcement. It's actually one of my areas of expertise. And the ultimate question here is, was the use of force reasonable? And when we analyze a case for the reasonableness of that force, we look at it through the eyes of the police officer, the shooter, the person who took the action, the person who used the force. And I'm not, as familiar with this case as the lawyers fighting it are. They've been litigating this for years already. But what I see is an officer acting according to his training. You have to understand a massive part of.
Hey, Brian, let's swing into court here and get Carol Dorsch's story, and then we'll talk about it.
Folks want to hear you. Okay? Yes, ma'am. All right. So introduce yourself to them. Tell them who you are.
I'm Officer Darch with the Fort Worth Police Department.
I shouldn't ask this question, but how old are you?
I am 27 years old.
All right. When's your date of birth?
July 15th, 1995.
Where'd you grow up?
Glen Rose.
I'm sorry?
Glen Rose, Texas.
And what